The town called her a liar. The rancher said nothing, until the truth cost him everything. They said she lied about everything, and in a town like Red Willow, that was worse than stealing a horse or killing a man. Lies were dangerous because they crawled into the dark places and stayed there. When Eliza Boone rode back into town after 7 years away, the wind carried her name like a curse. Men spat, women shut their doors. Children stared like they were looking at a ghost that might scream. Clay Mercer watched from the shadow of the livery stable, his jaw locked tight, his hands still. He did not step forward. He did not speak her name. He did not do anything at all. And the town took his silence as proof that she was exactly what they had always said she was. Eliza's horse was thin and gray with a scarred flank, and she rode like someone who had learned to keep moving even when it hurt. Her dress was dust-stained, her boots cracked, but her back was straight, and her eyes did not lower when the whispers reached her ears. She stopped in the middle of Main Street, and for a moment the town seemed to hold its breath. "You got nerve coming back," someone said. It was Sheriff Hale, his hand resting on the butt of his gun like it belonged there, more than his own fingers. "You weren't welcome when you left." "I didn't leave," Eliza said. Her voice was steady, but there was something sharp beneath it. "I was driven." A laugh cut through the air, ugly and loud. "Hear that?" A man called. "Still telling stories?" Clay turned away then. He walked toward his ranch as if the ground itself were pulling him home. He told himself he was done with Red Willow's ghosts. He told himself that silence was safer than truth. He told himself a lot of things. 7 years earlier, the night Red Willow burned, the screams had come from the boarding house. Flames climbed the walls like living things, and people poured into the street, shouting, running, praying. When the fire was out, 3 men were dead, and Eliza Boone stood with blood on her hands and terror in her eyes. She said they had dragged her into a room. She said they had locked the door. She said she had fought. The men were respected, sons of landowners. One was the sheriff's nephew. No one wanted to hear what Eliza said, especially when Clay Mercer said nothing at all. Clay had been there. He had been outside the boarding house, drunk and angry, listening to raised voices through an open window. He had heard Eliza scream. He had frozen, fear and shame knotting his legs to the ground. By the time he forced himself inside, it was over. Blood, fire, death. Eliza shaking like she would come apart. He could have told them what he heard. He could have said the men were alive when he arrived. That Eliza's story was not a lie. But the town was already decided, and Clay was a rancher with land to protect and enemies enough. So he said nothing. They called Eliza a murderer, a liar. They said she set the fire to hide her shame. They said worse things in low voices. When she was run out of town, Clay watched from his porch and did not move. Now she was back. By nightfall, Red Willow was boiling. Eliza took a room at the old hotel, and by midnight, someone threw a rock through her window. She did not scream. She simply closed the shutters and waited. The next morning, Clay found a note nailed to his barn door. The words were scratched hard, like the writer wanted the wood to feel them. "She's back, and she knows." Clay tore the note down and burned it. His hand shook, and he hated himself for it. He rode into town with a purpose he had been avoiding for years. When he reached the hotel, Eliza was already coming down the stairs. They faced each other in the quiet lobby, the air thick with things unsaid. Her eyes met his, and for a moment the years between them collapsed. "You're alive," Clay said stupidly. "So are you," Eliza replied. "I wondered if you'd stayed that way." "I didn't expect—" "No," she said softly.
"You never did."
She walked past him, and the scent of dust and smoke followed her. Clay stood there, his chest burning. He knew then that her return was not an accident. By noon, Sheriff Hale announced that Eliza Boone was to leave town by sundown or be jailed for disturbing the peace. The charge was thin, but no one questioned it. When Clay heard, something finally broke loose inside him. He found Eliza at the edge of town, standing by the old cottonwood where they used to meet before everything went wrong. She did not turn when he approached. "They're going to run you out again," Clay said. She smiled, but it was not kind. That was always the plan. "Why come back?" She faced him then, and her eyes were hard as flint. "Because the truth doesn't stay buried forever, and because someone in this town helped bury it." Clay swallowed. "You want revenge." "I want the truth," she said. "What it costs you is your concern, not mine." Before he could answer, gunshots cracked through the air. The sound came from town, sharp and sudden. Smoke rose above the rooftops. The fire started at the sheriff's office. By the time people reached it, the building was already lost. Inside, they found Hale's nephew dead, a bullet in his chest, and the town's old records burning to ash. The crowd turned as one toward Eliza. "She did it!" someone shouted. She came back to finish it. Clay stepped in front of her before he realized he was moving. The town went quiet. "She didn't," he said. His voice shook, but he did not stop. "I was there the night of the boarding house fire. I heard what happened." She told the truth. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sheriff Hale's face twisted with rage and disbelief. "You lying bastard," Hale said. "You expect us to believe you now?" Clay looked at Eliza, then back at the town that had shaped and scarred him. "I expect you to believe what's right. I expect you to hear it, even if it burns." He told them everything, about the voices, the screams, his cowardice, about how the men had laughed, how he had walked away. With every word, the town's certainty cracked. Hale drew his gun. "That's enough." Eliza moved faster. She knocked Clay aside as the shot rang out. Pain exploded in her shoulder, and she fell to her knees. The town froze, the truth hanging in the air like smoke. Clay grabbed Hale, and for the first time in his life, he did not hesitate. The fight was brutal and short. When it was over, Hale lay bleeding in the dirt, and Clay stood over him, breath ragged. The doctor said Eliza would live. The bullet had passed clean through. As she lay in the hotel room, Clay sat by her bed, the weight of years pressing down on him. "I'm sorry," he said. "It took me too long." She watched him, her expression unreadable. "The truth always costs," she said. "You just decided to pay it late." By morning, the town had changed. Not enough, not completely, but the lies were broken, and that mattered. Sheriff Hale was gone, arrested by men from the next county. The dead men's families did not speak, but they did not accuse either. Eliza left Red Willow at dawn. Clay walked with her to the edge of town, the same place he had once watched her leave in silence. "You don't owe me anything," she said. "I know," he replied. "That's what makes it worse." She mounted her horse and looked back once. "You said nothing when it mattered," she said. "But you spoke when it cost you everything. That has to count for something." Then she was gone, riding into the rising sun, leaving Red Willow to its truths, and Clay Mercer to live with his. The town would never call her a liar again. But the rancher who finally spoke the truth would carry the weight of his silence for the rest of his days, and that was the price he would always pay.